Hi everybody, I'm Gail Z and I write epic fantasy, urban fantasy, steampunk, and more. And today I'm reading from a story that appears in the Weird Wild West anthology from Espec Books. The story is Ruin Creek. It's co-written with my husband, Larry N. Martin, and it ties in with our Iron and Blood and Storm and Fury universes, which is all some pretty fun steampunk, the Victorians as they never were and should have been. So this is an excerpt from Ruin Creek. Are you sure about the telegram? Agent Jacob Drangasavich set his carpetbag down on the platform of the empty train station. You're certain you read the time right? His partner, Mitch Storm, leveled a glare. Yes, about the telegram. And yes, I can tell time. Then there aren't many other people taking the train to Ruin Creek, are there? Jacob asked drolly. Their horses were stabled near the station, awaiting their return. A single gaslight burned at one end of the wooden platform. Even the ticket agents were gone by this late hour, and no other passengers were in sight. Not leaving from here, anyhow. Mitch began to pace. With dark hair, a trim muscular build, and a 5 o'clock shadow that darkened to 3, Mitch looked like every penny dreadful writer's epitome of an army sharpshooter and a secret government agent. Jacob was tall and raw-boned, with a long face and blue eyes that spoke to his Eastern European background. All things considered, a darkened train station in the middle of Arizona wasn't the strangest place they'd been sent by the Department of Supernatural Investigations. In the distance, a coyote howled. Moonlight cast the saguaro cactus in strange shadows. Overhead, the stars seemed bright as a lawman's badge, and the darkened ridge of the Superstition Mountains loomed on the horizon. It's just strange having headquarters send us out without notice, Jacob remarked. Mitch shrugged. Not the first time, probably won't be the last. Things come up, especially in our business. A fellow agent calls for assistance, we go. If the telegram hadn't had all the right codes, I'd worry we were being set up, Jacob replied. You're worrying about that anyhow. Mitch knew his partner. I triple-checked the codes. I don't like getting sent out at the last minute without more information, Jacob groused. Mitch rolled his eyes. When has the department ever worried about telling us everything we needed to know? Jacob grunted in grudging assent. The mournful whistle of an oncoming train echoed through the empty desert landscape. A silver and black train ghosted to a stop at the platform and sent a puff of coal smoke into the air. It was a small train, just 2 passenger cars and 2 boxcars behind the engine and a coal car. The passenger cars were brightly lit, but as far as Jacob could tell, they were empty. All aboard! A man with a conductor's uniform leaned out of the doorway to the first passenger car. Mitch grabbed his carpetbag and the long duffel that carried their weapons and hopped on before Jacob could utter a word, forcing him to catch up. Classy, Mitch said as they entered the Pullman car. The seats were flocked green velvet and the cars were paneled with mahogany. Brass-shaded lanterns hung from the ceiling. Empty, Jacob said, walking to the back of the car to check that no one was hiding on the floor between any of the seats. He peered through the glass in the door to the vestibule, looking into the second, equally deserted car. I don't like this. Mitch had already selected a seat with his back to the wall where he could watch the entire length of the car. Jacob reluctantly took a seat opposite him where he could see the other door. Mitch had a newspaper on his lap and beneath it his cold peacemaker. He removed a silver flask from his pocket, took a swig and offered it to Jacob, who shook his head. Maybe when we get where we're going in one piece, Jacob replied. The conductor entered from between the 2 passenger cars and walked toward them as if an empty train in the wee hours of the morning was the most natural thing in the world. Tickets, please. Mitch held out the 2 tickets that had been delivered to their hotel within an hour of the unexpected telegram. The conductor barely glanced at the tickets, then nodded curtly. Do you make this run nightly? Jacob asked. Make it when we need to make it, the conductor replied, as the engine started with a slight lurch. Folks need to get to Ruin Creek. We stop here. I know it's late, Jacob said in his friendliest tone, but it's pretty quiet. Where'd you come from? The conductor looked at Jacob as if the question didn't register at first. Down the line a ways, he answered. Far away, long haul. I'm just surprised that the cars are empty, Jacob continued. Seems like a lot of effort to run us out to Ruin Creek by ourselves. Isn't there another train going that way in the morning? Don't know about that, the conductor said, turning away. I just do this route. Make yourselves comfortable, won't be long. No stops between here and there. With that, he turned away and ambled down the empty car. Talkative fellow, Mitch said. Have I mentioned that I don't like this? Jacob said. There's something fishy going on. In response, Mitch closed his eyes and leaned back against the tufted seat cushions. I'll wake you up in 2 hours, Jacob growled, settling in with his gun handy. Then it's my turn to sleep. Phoenix, Arizona, where they got on the train, was a wide-open outpost, not yet 20 years old. Anywhere they were headed was likely to be even rougher. Jacob had never heard of a town called Ruin Creek before the telegram, but the West was full of tiny railroad towns that sprang up and died within a year or two as the railroad workers and their camp followers moved on. "You don't think Ruin Creek is anywhere near Canyon Diablo, do you?" Jacob asked, ignoring the fact that Mitch was dozing off. "Canyon Diablo is 12 miles northeast," Mitch grunted, slouching further in his seat. "I'm just saying, 2 government agents riding into a town like Canyon Diablo aren't going to ride back out," Jacob warned. "I heard that town went through 8 lawmen in 6 months. Nothing but saloons and houses of ill repute." "Sounds like my kind of town," Mitch said, turning away from Jacob. "We didn't bring enough ammunition to go into a town like that," Jacob continued. "Speak for yourself." With a sigh, Jacob settled in for his time on watch. The train was moving fast, streaking through the night as the wheels made a click-clack rhythm. Jacob's Remington revolver was where he could draw it quickly, and so was a Bowie knife. A shotgun, Mitch's rifle, and an assortment of other weapons were in the duffel bag overhead. The train pulled in to Ruin Creek at 9. "Last stop," the conductor said, reappearing just before the train slowed. Jacob peered out of the window. What he could see was unimpressive. The station was just a small shed and an awning over a wooden platform. "Funny, there's no one here to meet us," Mitch muttered as they walked across the platform. Behind them, the train whistle sounded, and then the locomotive pulled away from the station. "There's a note," Jacob said, pointing to an envelope pinned up on the board where schedule updates usually were posted. "Department of Supernatural Investigation," the envelope read. Jacob took it down and unfolded a single sheet of paper. "Sorry I couldn't be here for your arrival," he read aloud. "Klein's rooming house is expecting you. Leave your bags in the parlor. I'll meet you there, and we'll explain more. Many thanks." The letter signed Ahiga Sani. "That's a Navajo name," Mitch observed. Jacob nodded. "The town is technically on Navajo land. The brass had to clear it through a couple of other offices to keep from getting sideways with the tribe when they sent us. That and the last agent they sent out here disappeared. Eli Bly, the agent who had sent a telegram asking for backup at Ruin Creek, had not been heard from since that brief, urgent message. If it were easy, they wouldn't pay us big salaries to figure out what's going on," Jacob said. Mitch looked askance at him. "They don't pay us big salaries, but we're still the ones who get shot at." So that's an excerpt from Ruin Creek, and it appears in the Weird Wild West anthology from E-Spec Books. It's also part of our Storm and Fury collection, and it ties back into our Iron and Blood universe. I'm Gail Z. Martin, and I hope you enjoyed the story.